This is Laura Ingram. Join me every weekday morning on The Patriot. Stay tuned. Live with Lou is next. Don't touch that dial.
Well, happy wet weather to you. I was noticing the manager of the North Yuba Water District wasn't going to give anybody no water up there because there's no snowpack. But they tell me that all, except for Oroville Dam, which they held lower, all these dams up through Yuba County and above are loaded with water. But there's some finagling going on up there at North Yuba Water District, and people getting jerked around up there. He conned the Yuba County Water Agency out of giving them over $300,000 to pipe that water instead of running it in ditches. Well, this is Live with Lou. Today, we are live. Legitimate, real, genuine, live. I can see Wikiman through this glass that hadn't been washed in about 5 years. Somebody stole that last couple banners. I think it's the tweaker that does the tech work on this operation. And this is KMYC The Patriot. And if you can't hear us so well, they say out there in Olivehurst, and I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's we just can't get this antenna straight, but in Olivehurst and Plumas Lake, they can't hear us out there very well. So you better just go on your stolen laptop and go to kmycradio.com and click on the Listen Live button, and it should come loud and clear. Or if you just get totally frustrated and you got to go out to the restaurant and have some bacon and eggs, which I should have right now, then you can listen later at One Eye Blind Media. If you go to One Eye Blind Media on YouTube and click on Live with Lou, you can pick a show there that you might want to listen to and have a time of it at any time of the night or day. If you're a tweaker, that may be in the middle of the night. I got some tweakers in my neighborhood, and you know you got a tweaker when they're out weeding the yard in the middle of the night with a floodlight. That's a bad sign. That's a bad sign. And when people are sleeping in the trunk of the car outside with all tires flat and broke down, and they're sleeping in the trunk, that's a sign you have a tweaker in your neighborhood. Right. It's a bad sign. And you just wonder, what's this going to come to? And tweakers attract tweakers. Did you ever know that? Notice that? It's like birds of a feather flock together. Tweakers attract tweakers. So I'm going to give a shout out to Bubba over there at Juvenile Hall, and all the rest of you guys listening over there, guys and gals. I think, but Bub is interested. He's a regular listener. And out you folks up there in Idaho, I had a guy tell me last Saturday night. Was it Saturday night? No, I was at the play. I went to the play out at Glad Tidings, and one of the guys stopped me and said, "Hey, I was down in Cancun, Mexico, and I was listening to the show from down there." I thought, wow, that's good. At least maybe, I don't know, I guess he can understand in English down there, even though he's in Mexico. Well, I'm glad you're listening. You can call us if you want, 742-5555. As I say before, this is a pro-choice show, so if it doesn't fit in with my career objectives or it isn't convenient, we may have to abort the call. Or if we're into gender selection around here, it's kind of like no shirt, no shoes, no salvation, gender selection. It may not be a women's day today or a men's day. We'll just have to sort it out as we go along. So we're here for 3 hours. If you're new to this, we're here for 3 hours. We are talking live. And so usually I can do this without flaw. But occasionally, I do a boo-boo. And so I want to correct that right at the front of the show so I can get my record all cleaned up. So what happened last week, actually a few weeks ago, a couple months ago maybe, let's see if I can find my corrections so I don't, okay. So a few months ago, we had a district attorney, Amanda Hopper, and I was told that the Internal Revenue Service, the Internal Revenue Service, if you are old enough to pay taxes, you got to file a form or forms and pay some taxes, or maybe they owe you some every year, right, by April 15th. Well, if you get in trouble, which I've been in a number of times where I've always filed on time, but sometimes they think I made a mistake, and then we get into a little fight, and we start corresponding back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So the word was Amanda Hopper didn't pay her taxes, and so they garnished her wages. You know what I mean? Garnish for you out there in Oliver. It's not like garnish on a meal. It's like they take your wages, right? Just like if you guys don't pay your child support out there, or you women, and you're thinking, I'm going to get my taxes back. And then when you get a letter and say, you had some taxes coming back, you had some money coming back, but we took it because you owed us some child support over there in Utah or California or Washington or something. So anyway, I said on the radio that the district attorney of Sutter County didn't pay her taxes on time, so they garnished her wages. But then I was dutifully corrected, and it said they didn't garnish her wages. It was a voluntary agreement where they mandated that they take it out every month out of her wages. That's what happened. It didn't happen like I said. So there you have it. Now, so last week, I was told before the show that the director of Sutter County's Human Resources quit. And there's so many people making such big wages over there that I got confused on the name of that person, and I called the director of Human Resources, Megan Greavy. However, Megan Greavy is another person over there that makes $181,953.14 in 2016, and she is a professional purchaser. That's what they call Director of General Services. That's when you need a box of pencils, you ask her to buy them for you, and she gets just chump change short of $182,000. So I said that Megan Greavy quit, but I got my tongue crossed with my eye tooth, and I couldn't see correctly. And so, but actually, the Director of Human Resources is a lady named Regina Romeo, however you want to say it. She's working for just like almost minimum wage. She only gets $112,275.57, according to 2016 Transparent California. Now, the reason I even brought it up, who cares whether somebody quits, right? Or decides to go take a better job if they can improve on those wages. Well, the significance of Regina Romeo was that when District Attorney Amanda Hopper decided that she no longer liked her special investigator, head investigator Jason Parker, nosing into her romance life, she dismissed him and told him to move across town to another county office. And then when they heard that he had gotten an attorney because he thought he was being improperly managed, then they put him out on leave, and they were going to bring charges against him, but they couldn't bring charges because Regina Romeo, who was getting $112,275.57 in 2016, was nowhere to be found. She was on vacation, and they needed her to come up with appropriate charges. So they dismissed him. Then they thought, we'll get around to the charges later. And so what I understand is that the former special investigator for Sutter County filed a lawsuit and named Regina Romeo, Director of Human Resources of Sutter County, paid $112,275.57 in 2016, named her in the lawsuit because she didn't do her job correctly, according to Mr. Parker. And so now she has, I don't know whether she's still working over there or she gave notice and is going to work a little bit longer and then leave. Maybe she got herself a job that's a little less controversial than what's going on here in Sutter County, because people are suing people left and right over there in that district attorney's office. So that's my corrections for the day, and it all involves dealings with the district attorney's office. The IRS settlement and the fact that I got the two ladies' names crisscrossed in my mind, which at this stage of my career happens every once in a while. So the important thing to remember is that the Director of Human Resources, who is being sued along with the rest of the supervisors and district attorney and all kinds of people at the top over there for unlawful firing of the special investigator Jason Parker, she now has come to pass. All right, so let's see. I wanted to mention there is going to be coming up an interesting speaker. You know what I find I'm really concerned about is that people don't have any understanding or basis on figuring out what's right and wrong in our country right now. Like, should we do this or should we do that? Is what he did constitutional or legal? It's like people just are doing whatever they want to do. And so the government of the United States was supposed to be founded on the Constitution, and everybody was supposed to follow that. But lots of people don't care about the Constitution anymore. Lots of politicians, they swear when they take an oath of office. Like I had to swear to defend the Constitution when I became a board member on the Yuba County Office of Education. I had to swear that. But I think people do a lot of swearing nowadays and don't really mean what they say. And so the fact is, I don't think that the public school system is teaching much about the Constitution or about the founding documents of our country. So for kids just come out and say, well, I think I'm entitled to free education, and I think I'm entitled to free health care, and I think I'm entitled to free, whatever they call it, gynecological services and condoms and pregnancy prevention pills and all those kind of things. But in the Constitution, it doesn't say that. In fact, the Constitution doesn't even say we should be supporting education from the federal government, etc. So I wanted to mention, and you could go on YouTube, and I'm going to play a clip from this guy later. But on YouTube, this guy's got a lot of cool clips. His name is Jake, common spelling Macaulay, M-A-C, and then capital A-U-L-A-Y. M-A-C, capital A-U-L-A-Y, Macaulay. And Jake has spoken here locally over there at Church of Glad Tidings. He is the chief executive officer of the Institute on the Constitution. It's an educational outreach that presents the founders' American view of law and government. Guy's really sharp. I've been watching some of his YouTube clips. And so you can go check that out yourself. I'm going to play a clip later in the show today about, is it okay to have Muslims involved in the U.S. government? Remember, Obama had a lot of Hamas folks and people that were really aligned with terrorists involved in his staffing at the White House. So Jake is a former syndicated talk show host, and he's appeared on a lot of different venues or medias that you've probably stumbled across, like Yahoo News, Fox News, The Blaze, CBS, NBC, The Weekly Standard, and more and more and more. So if you want to, he's coming to town, and if you want to sit in on it, on June 8th, on a Friday night, he's going to be at the Church of Glad Tidings, Building 200. That's where the Yuba Sutter Tea Party Patriots meet, and our Sutter Buttes Tea Party Patriots meet. And that's in Building 200. They call it the Well out there on the campus at Highway 99 at Eager Road, or Live Oak Boulevard and Eager Road. He's going to present a talk called Out of the Salt Shaker. You think, man, I wish we had better candidates. Somebody ought to do something. People call me and say, Lou, something's wrong over here. Why don't you do something? Right? Get me in trouble all the time. So people wonder, is that the best candidates we can do? Is that the best we have to choose from? So he's going to give a talk called Out of the Salt Shaker. It's a workshop. And it's a 7 o'clock at night on Friday, June 8th. So if you want to hear him again, he's going to speak in the weekend meetings out there at Glad Tidings. You may, if you're not into church, you may not want to do this because they do some singing and, wild things go on out at our church. You never can tell what's going to happen out there. People falling over, getting demons coming out of them. Crazy stuff goes on out there. If you just want a really boring service, try someplace else, but Jake's not going to be there. If you want to hear Jake on the weekend, he's also going to speak June 9th at 7 o'clock at night, and then June 10th at 10 a.m. in the morning. So you tweakers out there, you ain't even up by then, so don't worry about it. Catch it. Maybe they'll play it. You probably catch a podcast on Church of Glad Tidings as well later in the week. So Jake McCauley, and we'll play a clip for you, I think, in an hour or so from now on the Muslims. You'll find that fascinating because this terrorism thing is not a new thing with the Muslims, and yet we had Muslims involved in the first. I didn't know that. Most things I'm learning. I'm kind of a slow learner, so I'm learning all the time nowadays, listening. And, YouTube is such just a blessing, and the internet is such a blessing to us all if you sort through the baloney. So Jake McCauley and Friday, June 8th. By the way, man, if you missed that crazy dinner theater they did, I ate too much. I hardly could sleep, and I ate so many pork ribs. Holy mackerel. Drew cooked pork ribs. Holy mackerel, man. They were unbelievable. I normally don't even eat those kind of things because I don't know how to cook. I just cook simple things like salad. So pork ribs, man, they were so good. And so anyway, we had a great play out at Glad Tidings, raising some money to remodel Building 200. We just wore, this is about the second time we just wore that carpet out and we just trashed that place. Too many people in and out, in and out, in and out. Good sign, huh? So, man, I went over to the Sutter County Courthouse. I hadn't been in that new thing. Somebody told me the thing had heated floors. Did you know that? Heated floors. I thought people are living in the river bottoms, but we got heated floors in the courthouse. I thought if I go in there, I'm not even going to wear any shoes. Just like heated floors. I thought, whoa, baby, I felt like I was in San Francisco. It's pretty fancy over there. So over there I did a little favor from my friend. I had to drop some documents off. I wasn't in trouble that time, so I had to drop some documents. Now, let's see. Are you tired? We're into the second year of President Trump, and I am so tired of everyday news all day with James Phony Comey and James Chlamydia Clapper, Director of National Security, lying on the TV, and Robert the Jackass Mueller. Just those guys, and we're funding these guys to lie to us. These guys are corrupt politicians. Two of them work for the FBI, one of the organizations I had such great respect for so many years. In fact, I had an FBI employee as a trauma intervention volunteer for us for years. Wonderful lady. And we actually at trauma intervention one month had the FBI come down and all their evidence people come down and do a big old presentation. It was totally cool. I just had such high regard for the FBI. And then to have these guys who were the top dogs and all these people, McCabe and Strzok and all these people, and you got these national director of national intelligence. Somebody went on the radio the other day saying, how dare you criticize, he served in Vietnam, he did this, he did that, he did this. So what? If the guy becomes a criminal after all that, it's kind of like saying some guy slits your neighbor's throat and you think, oh, the guy was such a nice guy. He coached soccer, he coached baseball, he was a tutor. He was like Mr. Wonderful. He treated his wife really well. I said, well, what about the fact that he slit the neighbor's throat? Well, how dare you speak against him? To me, the guy's a liar, he's a liar. Did you, I forget where it was. I know it was on the internet or whatever. They had a list of all the employees under Robert the Jackass Mueller, and every one of them hated Trump. Now, I thought, if we're going to have an unbiased investigation, wouldn't you mix it up like 50-50? People that really like Trump, or people that were in the middle, and then people that really didn't like Trump, and just mix it up. But they had people that had worked for Hillary Clinton and people that had the whole bunch. There wasn't any people that say, I voted for Trump. There wasn't anybody that would wear an MAGA hat, right? Every one of them. And people say, oh, he's a Republican. I have great respect for him. Well, I don't. I don't have, for James Chlamydia, I don't have any respect for him. The guy's just an old fart liar. And James Phony Comey, I have no respect for him. Are you kidding me? The guy lied. These guys lie. All they are is really good liars. That's what they really accomplished being. And they set out. It's so fascinating. They are just like criminals I talk to that can go to juvenile hall, and the kid said, I did nothing. I don't know why they arrested me. I said, what are you doing back here? Oh, I don't have no idea. I don't know why they arrested me. I said, oh, you mean the cop, he got an A in the course out there at Yuba College, where the course called How to Arrest the Wrong Guy. He got an A in that. These politicians are no different than the common criminal we have locked up over here in the Sutter Yuba County Jail. They look you straight in the face, said, I had nothing to do with that. Yet we got all kinds of people saying they all met together and conspired to do whatever they could short of putting a bullet through the head of Donald Trump to destroy his presidency and to keep it tied up in legal scraps. And the media is right in on it. I get a kick out of it. If Trump solves the North Korea nuclear problem, we hate him. If he backs out of it, the negotiations, we hate him, right? It doesn't matter what he does, positive or negative, we hate him. If the stock market goes down, we hate him. If it goes way up, we hate him. Unbelievable. Well, we're going to be back in a little bit, and we got to have some other people talk here for a second. We're going to be on for 2.5 hours. We are live. So if you have a heart attack or something, it's okay. You can listen to it later on One Eye Blind Media.
Did you know that Article 4, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution lays out the framework for the state of Jefferson's plan to split California? A state can be formed from the land within another state if the state legislature and Congress approve it with a simple majority vote. 51% is all it takes. Your vote doesn't count in Northern California. California is broken and the time has come for 51. Please visit soj51.net and donate now to show your support.
Check out the Territorial Dispatch. Papers are weekly and can be obtained free at distribution or by mail through subscription. It's the only locally owned and operated newspaper in the region. The paper is the rest of the story. And also check out the E-Territorial. It's an online version of the Territorial Dispatch, which features local news and events for the Yuba, Sutter, Colusa, and Nevada County areas. You'll also find daily and breaking news updates, current traffic, and weather information, along with a calendar of local events. Visit the E-Territorial at eterritorial.com.
All right, Lou Benninger here. We're back. And if you're over here in Yuba County, we're out here in eastern Yuba County, broadcasting off of Mount Huth. Yuba County is up here in the state of Jefferson, if we can get it. And about people from about 4 or 5 counties, portions of at least 4 or 5 counties, can hear us. So even though I'm going to talk for a second about Yuba County, you probably have the same exact problems. Are you running out of money over in your county? We're running out of money, they say, over here in Yuba County. And you know what they always say? We're just not paying enough taxes. I got a list I won't go through today because I got too much other stuff to talk to, of over 100 different fees and taxes that you all and me all are paying every single day, whether we're using the toilet or driving our car or turning on the water or taking a phone call. We can't do a thing without paying somebody something to do that. Not just for the service, but a tax for the privilege of doing that. Tax, 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 tax. And in the government, who we don't really have much control over, and what I mean by that is they just can vote themselves raises. Nate Black, the auditor controller of Sutter County, was here an hour ago talking about how much government costs, and he said there's a lot of low-hanging fruit. That means there's easy ways we could cut the cost of government. Well, I'm not sure what he's talking about. He said he would have a lot to say on that, but he didn't have time to do it today. But he just said there's a lot of ways he's been suggesting to the supervisors who need to make those decisions on where to save money. So I got this fancy, schmancy, multicolored, folded flyer sent to me with U.S. postage paid to return it. So it got paid coming my way, and they're all paid going back. And it's asking me, they want a community update. The county administrator of Yuba County wants a community update. Now, it wasn't too many weeks ago that they paid over $30,000. I think it was like $32,000. Now, please, you guys that are watching me very closely, I'm under the microscope, just go ahead and text me if I'm like a couple thousand off. But just say it's $32,000 plus. Phone about a couple hundred people to see, and they ask these same old questions. And the reason they're doing that is for our own good. It has nothing to do with them wanting to get more money out of our pocket. What they do is they ask you all these questions that make you feel like you got some skin in the game. Then they turn around and tell you, everybody decided that we needed to raise taxes, so I want y'all to vote for them. So I got this flyer. It says, now I want you to answer these for me, whatever county you're in, because you're facing the same thing, and your county's going to try to raise taxes. How are they going to raise taxes? Well, you got to vote on it. They can raise fees, like they can raise fees on how to get a permit. You go in to get a permit, you think, what? That used to be half that price. Or you can go down to do something and you think, hey, that used to be free. Now you're charging for it. Like, what's up with that? So let me just run. These questions are, you would think that they could have answered these questions without asking me. They're wondering whether I think that sheriff patrols and 911 dispatchers are at adequate levels. They're wondering whether I think that we should make further cuts to child abuse services or elder abuse or spouse abuse. Yeah, let's just cut all that out. To hell with all those children and beat up elders. Yeah, let's do that. How about what do you think about recruiting? And do you want sheriff deputies or not? And do you want guys that are criminals or do you want qualified guys? Is that a hard one for you out there? Are you going to need to pray about that? Fast and pray over that. Let's see. Here's another one. Should we maintain and prevent cuts? That doesn't even make any sense. These guys need to go back to English, take an English 1A class out there from Yuba College. Maintaining and preventing cuts to parks, veterans services, and roadsmen. Yeah, to hell with the veterans. Let's just cut those guys out, right? Protecting and maintaining fire protection services. Providing supervision of high-risk offenders on probation. No, we want as many high-risk offenders running around Yuba County as we can get. Let's just tell the Department of Corrections, listen, we want as many of those. We got plenty of housing up here. Just send them on up here and chip in a little money. We'll help them. And finally, maintain 911 or 911 emergency services Actually, this one I love. Maintain the response time. Say, do you care? Do you really care how fast do you need us? Like you say, my husband's having a heart attack. Well, do you need us over there in a few minutes, or can we come? We got a couple other calls. Can we come over there in about 30 minutes? Right? That's what this question's about. Now, these questions are stupid. They actually insult the intelligence of the average citizen who stops to think about it. You say, wait a minute. I thought we had government to take care of this and all the other stuff. Like, what other stuff you talking about, Lou? Well, do we need somebody to go on the radio or go in the newspaper and tell us to wear a hat because it's hot outside, or drink plenty of water, or mow around your buildings up in the foothills or they might burn down, or wear shoes, it's 105 out today, or wear a condom if you want to avoid an STD. Do we need all these other services? They don't ask you about, do you want all these welfare services, and you want all these counseling services, you want all these health services, like this is how you should eat, this is how much water you should drink. At some point, what services, like for instance, do we need to pay in our school system to be taught about transgenderism or about homosexuality or sexuality at all? Why don't we just say, listen, let's just leave that up to the parents and let's focus on reading, writing, and arithmetic, because we're not really getting high marks over there. And so maybe we should focus on what school was intended to be. Now, I mentioned, I went up on the transparentcalifornia.com site. You can go there yourself. You don't need me to tell you. And I looked at Yuba County's statistics. And in 2016, Yuba County had 1,013 part-time or full-time, mostly they were full-time employees. And those employees were needed to serve fewer than 75,000 people. Now, that's a lot of folks. That's not counting school teachers. That's government departments. Planning, building, code enforcement, secretaries, clerical. Man, I was over at that Sutter County Government Center. It was really nice. I felt, I visited the Taj Mahal. That's pretty nice. This is like better than the Taj Mahal. It's a lot fancier. Even though the Taj Mahal had marble, it was all marble, and that's just a burial spot. It was all marble and had emeralds in stuck in the marble. I thought, this is an expensive operation. Man, there were a lot of people working over in that courthouse. So I like the idea. I like the, I hardly ever find anybody in the government that could find anywhere to cut. I was so fascinated when Mr. Black said today he had some ideas. I thought, really? I thought, well, I'm interested in those ideas, because on the Yuba County side, nobody's ever talking about ideas. Now, what I found at the transparentcalifornia.com site is that we have 4 public servants that earn between $275,000 and $300,000. They call them public servants. Did you know that? 11 earned more than $200,000. 44 earned in excess of $150,000, and 81 received over $125,000. And then I realized that 197 earned over $100,000. That's in 2016. They all got raises. Do you know that in county government and state government, usually people get raises after they have like a discussion with the boss, and they're merit raises. In government, if you're breathing, you get yourself a raise. Did you know that? If you got a temperature and it says you're still alive and you're breathing, you get yourself a raise every year. So that's why, even though the 2018 salaries aren't in over there at Transparent California, you know that these salaries are low that I'm quoting you. So I bet we got some people poking around that $300,000 category. Now, that may not make much sense to you out there if you're up in Placer County, because you folks are making some more money up there than these Yuba County folks are. But if you look, and again, at different data banks, you can find different figures. They vary a little bit. But on the one I was looking at, because Russ Brown over there at Yuba County, he's like the information specialist. He says, your figures aren't right. I said, well, tell me what figures are right. Let's get those figures out. Give me a clue. Send them over here, baby. You got my email. Like median Yuba County household income, we're paying some people nearly $300,000. We got 197 people that are earning over $100,000 to watch over us and take care of us in Yuba County. And so the median household income is $48,739. Let me tell you what median means out there in Olivehurst and Linden, because I think you missed that over there at Lyndhurst High. Median means that's the income that's in the middle, not the average, but in other words, half the folks made more than that and half the folks made less than that. And household means that more than one person added up to that income. So it could be like me, like I'm making the big bucks, right? Because I'm a radio talk show host. So I'm making the big dollars, but lots of people ain't making so much money, and sometimes it takes 2 or 3 people to make $48,739. So hold that thought. So when you have all these poor people in Yuba County, one of the poorer counties, when you look at income in the state of California out of 58 counties, and then you got people, you got to find some really sharp people to like count the beans and to make sure the toilets flush and patch the roads and manage things like that. Like Megan Greavy over there in Sutter County, that she's like a professional purchaser. They call her Director of General Services. She's making, according to 2016, $182,000. I thought, man, if I made that in 1 year, I'd be able to get on heroin or something. I'd go nuts. I'd just go totally crazy. I don't think I could know. It'd take me like half my lifetime to make that much money. My. And did you know what I realized? I wrote this article. I had to write it earlier this week because John Missler, man, that guy runs the Territorial Dispatch. He's hard to get along with. He said, you got to have your articles in early because we're taking the day off Monday because of Memorial Day. So I had to write this article early, and I found out that, it's interesting. When Carl Adams, the district attorney for Sutter County, went sideways on us, well, he was sideways for 30 years, but we just realized it at the tail end. And when he left, there was talk that if we could have arrested him for a felony, we wouldn't have to pay his pension. But then I was told by Jason Parker, who at that time was with the police department, who interviewed Carl Adams about the crimes he did do and didn't do. Actually, it wasn't a crime he did do. He just was having sex with a prostitute, which actually, if he didn't pay her, it wasn't a crime. She just was a prostitute and he wanted to have sex with her. But if he got a freebie, it's just 2 adults consenting, right? Is that right over there, Wiki? You got that down, right? If you guys see, help me out here, boys. You keep me on the straight. So I realized that there was a guy that everybody loved, Lee Baca. You remember him? Sheriff Lee Baca, B-A-C-A. He was a L.A. County sheriff, and he was a rising star in the state of California politically. And then all of a sudden, the FBI got word that inmates were being abused in the L.A. County jail. And when they went to check on it, Lee Baca got caught lying to the FBI, and he got himself arrested. Dang, I hate that when that happens, when the sheriff gets arrested. That's not a good sign. Well, did you know that Lee Baca, even though he was convicted of a felony, he gets $342,000 annual CalPERS retirement? Remember, just an hour ago, Andy Vasquez was in here interviewing Nathan Black, and they were talking about CalPERS and how they was struggling to stay above, survive. And the question was, will we have enough money in there to pay people's retirement, what they agreed to? So Lee Baca's getting his, and he is no longer having to work. He's getting $342,000. That's in 1 year. My goodness, I wouldn't know what to do with that money. I'd just sit there and look out the window and say, well, what am I going to do with all these dollars sitting here? And it's just confusing. It's just totally confusing. He's getting like $1,000 a day. Wow. Sometimes I eat 2.5 times a day, and I think, I wish I could eat 2 or 3 more times, but I can't. I don't have any room left. It's like, what do? I just sit and watch out the window, watch tweakers walk by down in Marysville. So I realize that public employees convicted of felonies doesn't have any impact on their retirement. Now, it'd be one thing I'd say, hey, people say, well, hey, they put all that money aside. It's their money, but they don't put all that money aside. Like my money, nobody paid for any of my retirement. I had to chunk away money all the time, or there ain't going to be no money there for me. But on this CalPERS, we pay most of the money. We being the taxpayers, we got to pay for that. And if CalPERS gets all squirrely and everything, we still got to pay. Now, what I asked in my article, my article's title, you can look at in the territorialdispatch.biz online, or you can get a hard copy. Sometimes you can get a hard copy around at your favorite store. But the title of it is Check 7 If You Really Feel Scammed. So this flyer I got, I'm going to send it over to the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, because I think it's illegal what they're doing. They're not supposed to be taking taxpayers' money to raise taxes on us, to win an election to raise tax. This is a political piece. That's what I think it is. It's posing, these are posers, It's like a criminal coming to work for you, and he poses as a really good guy. And then he keeps stealing from you, right? It's like the guy that stole an entire Cadillac one piece at a time out of the car manufacturer. So what this is ripping you off, making you feel good about it, right? It's like the guy that stole your drugs but spent all night looking for them with you. Said, I'll help you look for those drugs. Somebody, the darn guy that stole those drugs from you. Let's call the cops and report them. Well, this is a piece that just makes you feel, oh, they're just so sensitive, these bureaucrats, Robert Bendorf and the rest of his cronies over there. They're so sensitive, and they want to know what we think. They don't give a crap what you think. They do not give a crap what you think. Why don't they ask, do you think that we should reduce salaries by 25%? And give that to law enforcement. All budgets should be cut by 25%, and we're going to give that to law enforcement since we can't fund it because we took the money away. Here's a question. Do you have a problem in Yuba County with the fact that we drained the Yuba County law enforcement budget to spend on other stuff? Do you have a problem with that? Huh. Well, that's a thought. Do you have a problem that we're spending money on things that you don't care about, right? Do you have a problem with us adding welfare workers and cutting road workers that patch the roads? I think what they ought to do, I saw there was a place somewhere in the United States where people are just buying you can buy that can, the 5-gallon cans of that road patch. And the roads are so screwed up in their neighborhoods, they're just patching they have a neighborhood watch, and they just watch for holes on the roads, and they're going to patch their own road. Say, screw the government. They can't patch. I got cracks in my street. If I don't pay attention, I could twist my ankle on those cracks. You could lay a rat down in there and not even fill the doggone crack up. And so they don't ask questions like that. Let me tell you about some of the areas of waste that the Howard Jarvis people found. Crony capitalism, you know what that is, where government picks and chooses people they want to do business with, not based upon where they get the best deal. So they got into jerking around some gravel companies down there in Sacramento and giving the deals to Tykert. And they got sued down there in Sacramento County, and the court awarded these two gravel companies $100 million in damages. That, if we got a couple lawsuits here locally, that might help government pay a little bit more attention to getting the best deals. Auditors in the state of California found out that legislators like our favorite legislators down there in Sacramento, James Gallagher and Nielsen, these guys spend more than $3 million on mail to their constituents, much of which was sent immediately before an election. Now, isn't that, what a coinkydink that is? Politicians are scamming tax dollars for their political campaigns. Did you know that that politicians are not supposed to be using tax dollars for political campaigns? Like this flyer I got right in my hand says Yuba County 911. Join the conversation. Hey, screw the conversation. You don't care what we think. All you're going to put that on the ballot whether we care or not. It's almost 10 o'clock. Wiki says we need to let somebody else talk for a minute. So we'll be right back, and we're going to be here for 2 more hours. You're listening to Live with Lou. This is The Patriot. We're out here on Mount Hood, just struggling, suffering out here. We do have water today. The lights are on. And we can use the toilet. It's nice out here. It's pretty, the comforts of home. Just the comforts of home. So I like to play that clip because the liberals, even though they passed 1995, let's move our embassy to Jerusalem. There's such sissies and so little testosterone in this government that no one would ever do it, right? And so we hate Trump. Oh, well, he's going to, we don't want to summit with North Korea. He's too stupid to figure it out. He's too stupid to. You know what I liked about moving of the embassy? The high point with me, they only spent like $400,000. They didn't spend bajillions of dollars to build a new embassy. They just threw a couple coats of paint on something, slicked it up, and moved that dude. I thought, I like that. That's something the way I'd do it. So I saw an article that you remember Trump when he took over. He said one of the things we're going to do is we're going to slash regulations. Regulations is government standing in the way of you having your freedom. Right? That's all it is. Every time they add a regulation, that reduces your liberty and your freedom. So Trump said, if we add a regulation, we're going to have to figure out 2 others that we'll remove. You remember that? Remove 2 for every adding 1. But actually, in the first year, he surpassed that, and they got to removing 4 for every 1. And then it went up to 5 for every 1. Isn't that amazing? 5 regulations are getting removed for every 1. Now the liberals saying, well, we love all those regulations. So in 2017, cutting the regulations cut costs of government by $6 billion. And this year, in 2018, they project it's going to save another $10 billion. In other words, per year. Now, some people say, the liberals, oh, well, that's nothing. $10 billion, it's just a little bit of, it's just chump change. Well, kind of. The omnibus bill, which is the bill to keep the government running, was $300 billion. But what if, like Nate Black said, what if everybody started cutting something and did better at everything? Became more efficient, right? Cut regulations. Why? And ask questions about everything we do. Why do we do that? Is it worth it? What does it really prove? What does it really improve? Do we need it? Can we live without it? So $10 billion in 2018, they project. In 8 years, under the Obama administration, the projection or the estimate was that he increased enough regulations, added enough regulations to add $600 billion in expenses to the country. That's business. Now, for you folks that have never run your own business or never worked in a business that you had to fill out form after form after form after form after form and ask this person permission and this person permission and this, I mean, when we had to, like, when I say we, I didn't have anything to do with it except pushing on people. When the folks wanted to clean out the little lagoon at the boat ramp in Riverfront Park, Dave Lehman had let that thing, the public services director of Marysville, had let that thing fall by the wayside over years, and the reason he never applied for a permit to dredge it out so boats could get in there and out and go fishing and sporting up and down the river, kayaking, whatever, was because it was just a pain in the rear with all else he had to do. I kind of sympathize with him, but the fact is that's his job. If he didn't want to do it, let's get somebody in there who could pull it off. So that's the type of regulations we're talking about. And we have, you know what I was hoping for? During the election, the campaign, when Trump was running, many people were talking trash, right? You remember all the Hollywood people that said we're leaving if he gets elected? And I don't think any of them left. And many of the federal employees said, we're quitting. By the way, we just want to let you know we're quitting if Trump gets elected. And they said 25% of us are quitting. I thought, hey, go to hell. Just go there. Like, pack your gear now and leave. Who cares? You know, and the amazing thing is, what I think is amazing in business, when I've been in business, is when somebody quit and it didn't have any impact on the business's efficiency. You didn't miss them. You think, in fact, that person was a pain in the rear, and so you saved the salary and didn't miss the person. Isn't that something? So anyway, let me go back to this. So Trump's saving us a lot of money, but I don't see that. As Nate Black said, we could do that. We could do some of that in our local area. But I don't see the people in Yuba County talking that way. In fact, I get a kick out of every time the Appeal Democrat talks about the Yuba County Water Agency. It's like the Yuba County, you know, when you don't know how to speak somebody's language, like when I don't know how to speak a language, I just speak really slow and louder. And I think then they'll understand English. I think that's the stupidity of that comment. You've seen people do that, right? They're trying to bridge. They're English speaker, and other people are speaking some other language, and so they start slow. They slow their speech down, and they speak really loud. That's what the Yuba County Water Agency is doing right now, because they keep saying, "You don't understand because you're all out there. You're too stupid. You don't know. You're not as bright as us." And so we have really big toys, and you have little teeny toys. And when we have to replace a light bulb, it's $100,000. And when you have to replace a light bulb, it's $2.50. You just don't understand how when a dam, how many of you have forgotten about Oroville Dam and the fact that we're spending billions of dollars repairing that thing? You probably missed that. You thought, oh, well, we're getting that done for $49.95. But then we have Yuba County Water Agency trying to remind us that they have a dam. And they always say we, right? But we isn't us, like Yuba County citizens. It's we, 7 directors, and a big staff that they've now exploded into, like 80, 100 people. They keep reminding you all the time, the Appeal Democrat, which is the new mouthpiece for the Yuba County Water Agency, that we have to have millions of dollars, because when we have a goof, it's $5 million. I said, okay. Do we need to talk about that every single day? It's like a nagging wife. Like, Did you fix the light bulb? Did you fix the light bulb? How about that light bulb? Oh, did you buy it? Yeah. Did you do this? Do you need the ladder? Like, come on, man. So I got a kick out of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association website. You ought to go to it, hjta.org, I think, or com. Try that if it doesn't work. HJTA. It has all kinds of resources, and it tells how governments, like the county government of Yuba, is dishonest and says, oh, well, we're not really planning to do a tax. We're just wanting to know your opinion. What they're doing is trying to carpet bombing with data to get you to think, oh, my God, we're not going to have any police and fire if we don't, cough up some more money, and they're doing the very best they can, right? You have 20 people earning $25,000 a year worrying about somebody making $300,000 a year and wanting more of their money. Some of these people don't even live in Yuba County. Did you know that? Some of these people making $200,000-$300,000 don't even want to live in Yuba County. Think about that. So in my article, you can read it in the territorialdispatch.biz, I talk about a water district, just like Yuba County Water Agency, in the Panoche, Panoche Water District. 5 officials from that district were arrested and charged for the misuse of taxpayer dollars on personal expenses such as home remodels, housing, concert tickets. I was wondering why in that questionnaire, I can't find that questionnaire. Oh, here it is. I got it standing on its end. The questionnaire, why they wouldn't have asked, how would you like to reduce the pay of supervisors 75%? Because they make $80,000 for a part-time position right now. They don't ask that question on this card. I thought, they must have forgot about that. How would you like to end the retirement benefits? I thought these people were public servants, right? My tip volunteers don't get any retirement. In fact, they don't get any salary at all. Why don't... This could have an 8th question. We could save this much money ending the retirement payments for supervisors that are political people. How'd you like that? Vote 1 through 7. 1, kind of care. 7. I don't know why they don't ask here, do you want arsenic in your water? I could handle a little or whatever, right? Either way, whatever. We could go right down the line. How would you like to eat every day? Do you care about eating every day? Well, sometimes I want more than that. Right? They don't ask you all the questions. They don't ask you, should we cut money? They don't ask you, should supervisors be paid for being a supervisor and then change hats and then call themselves something else, like a water district director, water agency director, and then get paid again. Double dip. Should we have double dipping? No, they don't ask that on this question. They just ask 7 questions. And here's another ripoff. How about expense accounts and per diem accounts? Why don't we eliminate all that? I noticed that the new gas taxes, you think they apply to everyone, but they don't apply to politicians, because politicians, you pay their gas. Did you know that? James Gallagher, James Nielsen, Doug LaMalfa, Mr. Garamendi, even city council people and supervisors get gas paid for by you. So why would they be such against gas taxes? Because they just write it off. These department heads on all these government, I even have people come over to speak for me in the jail, and government people, they go and check out a car from the government and drive over in that car, so they don't have to use their own car. So, but the new gas taxes, what the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association found out, state legislators use taxpayer-funded credit cards to pay for all their gas. And from January 1, 2016 to April 2017, legislators charged more than $137,000 in gas to the taxpayers. Happens at the local level as well. People tell me for years that the district attorney in Sutter County used their own vehicle. Now she drives an SUV. I guess it's okay. Just like, hey, it's expensive, and we pay for it. You know, the fascinating thing to me, I heard on Facebook that Gary Bradford, the supervisor for out there in the Wheatland, Plumas Lake area, said, I'm a little light on the facts. But he never came up with his own set. So I was talking about that Measure G out there, which is on your ballot to allow the school district in Plumas Lake to borrow $20 million and charge it to you. And I had quoted one Plumas Lake house that was paying like $3,000 to $4,000, not in payments, but in taxes and fees and bonds. That didn't count their house payment. So I went, and some of my friends out there helped me out there in South Yuba County, and they said an existing 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,360 square foot Edgewater house, on top of your payment, you have to pay $3,803 a year in taxes and fees. That darn near gave me high blood pressure right there. And a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, 3,151 square feet in Plumas Lake, $5,233 in taxes, fees, and bonds, and Yuba College bonds, and school bonds, and levy bonds. We're just bonded up the butt. Just, you know, it's just for people where the median household income, that means half the people that are earning any money are earning less than that. $48,739, you got husband and wife working in a lot of those situations, or husband working and wife part-time. And all adding up to $48,739. That's the median. That's in the middle of all the wages. So I wanted to mention on this election, there's been so much confusion on this governor's election. Now, let me explain it to you. I got some friends, church friends. Oh, they're all fired up and angry. They said, Travis Allen is the best guy. He's better than Cox. And then they put in caps in bold, he's the best. Well, you could have Jesus on that ballot, and if that sucker couldn't win the election, it don't do you no good casting a vote for him. So you think, oh, well, John Cox, he's a rhino, R-I-N-O. That means Republican in name only. And Travis Cox, he's just really wonderful, and I met him, and he shook my hand. He took a photo with me. Well, God bless you over there. Listen, people, I want you to think about, I'm going to talk about a company that is getting ready to leave the state after being in our state for like 100 years or something like that. They're moving to Boise, Idaho. I'm going to read about them in a bit. We have people, probably everybody that's listened to me knows somebody that's left. I know a number of people that have left California for other states for a variety of reasons. They just got fed up here, right? And better business, et cetera, et cetera. And so this government, Governor Brown on down, and a Democrat-dominated legislature has created a state where the only people that can afford to live here are the very, 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 very rich, and poor people who live off the taxes of all the rest of them. And so the middle people that are that are paying taxes and paying a very high cost for amazing housing prices because of the incredible environmental regulations and all the just fee after fee after fee after fee after fee. In fact, in Yuba County, my contractor friend said, Lou, it's not wise to try to build a new home in Yuba County because the fees are like $20,000, $30,000 in fees or more. And so when you look at the school system, you look at any of the institutions, I can't believe it. On Facebook, people keep posting the DMV showing lines. I don't know what people are doing over at the DMV. The lines are extending out into the parking lot. Have you seen that? I don't know what's going on over there. It's like I've been over there before and got jerked around when I've had a problem, like I lost my license or something. I had to go get a license. I pay for everything online and just renew everything online. But if you got to go there, people are lined up clean out in the parking lot. It's unbelievable. The whole state is totally falling apart. And the school system here is forcing kids to learn about all kinds of sexual baloney. It's like, come on, man, can't we just leave sex out? Can't we just teach kids to think and read and write and do math, right? And get some history in there? We skipped all that stuff. We're more focused on bullying and all that other crap. And so when you look at, check out Gavin Newsom. Listen, if you think Brown has been a problem, Governor Brown, some of you love Governor Brown, it's okay. I don't know why you listen to the show. You probably get, I could drive you nuts if you like Governor Brown and you like the liberal legislature. But if you do not like what's going on today, listen, Gavin Newsom will make Governor Brown look like Ronald Reagan when he was governor. Brown is conservative compared to Gavin Newsom. The vote, any vote for Travis Cox or anybody else down the line other than, Travis Allen, anybody else down the line other than John Cox is a vote for a liberal establishment. I'm not saying, I've never met a candidate I agreed 100% with. You got to get over that. At some point, you need to build towards a difference. So if you want to cast your vote for Travis Allen, what we're doing as Republicans, I get a kick. Some of the Republican people I know have become senile. They're of no relevance anymore. They don't make any sense anymore. And there's a reason why the Republican Party or the Conservative Party, why people are leaving it and registering as independent by the tens of thousands each year, is because they act stupid and they make stupid decisions. And this is one of them. To not have any chance in the final election, to have what you're going to have is two very liberal people running against each other, is just stupidity when you could have somebody that doesn't agree with a lot of what they're doing. People say, oh, well, George, he gave $1,000 to somebody when he was 10 years ago. Like, who cares? Trump gave to Democrats. Why are you splitting hairs over stuff like that? I don't understand it. Well, he's run for election and lost a bunch of times. Well, he's actually from Chicago. How many of you I was actually born in California. Most people I know were not born here. They came here. Like, who cares? Some of the people in local races, Clint Curry, who's going to be an attorney, the district attorney in Yuba County, didn't even want to live here until he got a chance to be district attorney. He lives in Sutter County, and he moved over to his mama's house. And Jeff Pierce, who's worked for Sutter County in the sheriff's department for years, lives in Wheatland. That's Yuba County. And he's going to go over and you know something? It's like, it's just like, come on, man. Listen, here's what it comes down to. If you want to vote for somebody that's got 5% of the vote right now, or maybe you've already done it, it's sad. That's really stupid. I'm glad you're not my financial manager. That would be a really bad choice. Or I don't know how you buy new tires for your car because you don't make good choices. But if you're interested in making a conservative change in the government and you're going to pass on Cox is all we got, folks. You may not like the color of his hair, the way he parts it, how he talks. It's like, get over it, right? It's like, I remember when Trump ran, I decided to get on the Trump thing early because I was sick of politicians. And it's amazing to me how many reasons people could feel, well, I don't like his hair. Well, I don't like his attitude. Like, get over it, man. You're not having to sleep with the fella, right? All right. We're about halfway through the show today. We're going till noon. This is Live with Lou. This is The Patriot. And we're going to take a break and let somebody else talk for a minute. I need to go to the bathroom.
Did you know that California was never supposed to be just one state? Before the state was formed in 1850, there was discussion of forming 3 states instead of 1. California has an area larger than 7 East Coast states combined, and it takes 14 hours to drive from one end of the state to the other. California is simply too large to govern. Rural communities are being outvoted by more densely populated areas. The state of Jefferson is the solution. Please visit SOJ51.net to show your support.
Hello, liberty-loving patriots. This is Chrisanne Hall, Liberty's lobbyist and founder of Liberty First University. If Samuel Adams were still alive, he'd be sure to tune in to Live with Lou every Saturday.
All right. Well, we're in our second half. This is Live with Lou, and we're out here on Mount Hood in Yuba County. And in 1932, a guy named E.L. Price in Emeryville, California, started a pump business, manufacturing pumps, and he primarily built them for agriculture because California was booming in agriculture. Lots of great land, good water, a lot of water, and great weather, right? So in the 30s and 40s, that's what they did, is focus on agriculture. And then the company relocated into Sonoma County in 1948. They proceeded through the 50s. And then the family was purchased, the family business, by a guy named Leon Paul in 1962. And they continued running the company. In 1979, the Price Pump Company had outgrown its 3,600 square foot rented space and moved to a 10,000 square foot facility in Sonoma County. In 1989, the company constructed a 32,000 square foot facility 2 miles from where they were existing. And in 1992, they hired a new CEO, bringing with him 24 years of pump experience to continue the business on, in a very successful business. But now they're moving to Boise, Idaho. Isn't that interesting? And I read this article, and what, different from just the average, we're pissed off, we're moving. They got into some of the drama of what motivated and the difficulty of moving. So Bob Piazza, who is president of Price Pump now, I think this, and I'm bringing this up because of the campaign that's going on right now for governor. And who is governor is huge. It's huge. It's worth making a sacrifice for because of maybe you don't like the personality, or there's certain things, or he's not a Christian or something like that. Bob Piazza said it has simply become too difficult. This is a company that started in 1932, people in California. It's become too difficult and too costly to run a manufacturing business in Sonoma Valley, says the Price Pump president. He says, however, to pick up and move is traumatic. Some of our employees have worked here for 45 years. I want you to think about that for a minute, working at the same place for 45 years, and now they're going to move out of the state. Piazza himself is 74. He shares some of the emotions of a lot of their employees. Piazza says, I've lived in California my whole life. And he says, I've been with my wife for 53 years. And he said, we're going to be moving to Idaho. He said, I don't love change. Isn't that true? We don't really love change, do we? But the way things are going, he says, we don't have a choice. In other words, if you're in business, it's one thing if you're working for government, but if you're in business for yourself, sometimes you just don't have a choice. You're either going to fold, or you better make some changes in that business. Price Pump has a good reputation, they say. Piazza said that his employees' reaction to the move, like his own, has gone through stages. First, there was complete shock. Then everybody started getting interested in learning something about Boise, Idaho. Those who haven't decided on what they're going to do, said Piazza, are about moving. He's offering them to move, if they can move and take a job up there. They're pretty quiet, and they're just pondering what they're going to do with their future. They're going to have to look for a new job. Some of them after working 20, 30, 40 years for the same business. He mentions one quality assurance technician named Ryan Daly. He said, the news felt like deja vu, or I've experienced this in the past. He said, at first I was shocked that this is happening to me again. I had lost a job in Sonoma around 2007 due to a manufacturing plant moving outside of the state. Piazza offered all his employees an all expenses paid trip with their families to go visit Boise. Pretty kind gesture, don't you think? I thought typical of a good private business. A dozen employees have taken him up on the offer, and the vast majority came back excited to move. Isn't that interesting? People go over to visit a place. That's some of the folks that are listening from Idaho, outside of Boise right now. They used to live in Marysville, and during the evacuation of the Oroville Dam, they went over to check out Boise and thought Boise's a little expensive, but they found a place outside in I think it's Hageman, and got a really nice house over there, and a lot of beneficial aspects that California no longer has. So Daly and his wife, this is the quality assurance guy, visited Boise and the surrounding areas in March, just a couple months ago. He says, Mr. Daly says, we both agreed that Boise area would be a fantastic. I want you to think about just the adjectives he uses and the qualities he describes about Idaho compared to what California has become. California has not always been the way it is today, because I've been here for the last mini moon. He says, we agreed that Boise area would be a fantastic place to raise our young family and keep the American dream alive. He said, our quality of life, quote, will improve. We will surely miss the beauty, the community, our friends, and most family here in Sonoma County. I've lived most of my 4 decades in Sonoma Valley, but my wife and I are ready for a new adventure. Mr. Piazza said it turned out to be hard to predict who would be excited to move and who would not. One of his employees is 66 years old and has never worked any place other than Price Pump. Isn't that amazing? I think a lot of people, my dad always worked in his occupation, always worked for himself, and spent over 40 years in the meat cutting business. And a lot of people back in the day, all my uncles all worked at the same place or did the same job for all those years. My one uncle worked at Standard Oil in the Bay Area at the refinery. He was a welder for them, worked his entire career there. His wife was a teacher. She worked his entire career in the Albany school system. It's interesting. People don't do that so much today, but to see, he says one of his employees had worked his entire work career at Price Pump. When Piazza, the president of Price Pump, said he would, they were going to move, this guy, 66-year-old guy, said, "I'm moving with you," and the president was shocked. But the 66-year-old employee said that he had planned to work till he was 70. And he says it would be difficult to find a different kind of job now. But even more, he said he realized that when he ran the numbers, he wouldn't even be able to retire in California at 70. That should get people's attention. When you think, oh, should I vote for a conservative person, even though they're not my perfect choice? What difference will it make? I'll tell you, when people say, I've worked in California all my life, but at 66, I'm willing to make a change to a new state. That's an amazing statement right there. And he says, I don't think I can afford to retire where I've lived for all these years. Another employee said he lost his house during the 2009 recession, and he's moving to Boise because it'll give them a chance to be a homeowner again. They say that the housing prices in Boise, although I think they're really going up, I know people there. I helped start a trauma intervention program there. They say they're half of what the costs of housing are in the Sonoma Valley area. Piazza's long list of complaints about business climate in Sonoma center around, I want you to listen to this, center around hiring, the cost of living in California, taxation, and the labor laws. I don't know all the details on this, but I have a good friend who has a couple businesses here in the Yuba Sutter area. They wanted to hire some new employees. They were expanding, and they went to One Stop in Yuba County or Sutter, one of the two. They really had a good experience with One Stop. The people they brought for interviews were obviously highly prepped in how to do an interview. They did a good job on the interview. The guy they hired, the first guy they hired, had military background, had a lot of good qualities. They hired him. He showed up one day, never showed up again, but filed a lawsuit against them, an employment lawsuit. And the attorney advised him to pay him $1,200 and not go to court because the labor laws and labor judges in California will rule for the employee. You just need to pay the money and move on. They didn't do anything wrong with this employee. Came one day to work and filed a lawsuit. Piazza with Price Pump said he's been getting more and more frustrated with over-regulation by the county and the state government for years. He's been managing that business since the 1990s. He said, over the last few years, I found that I can't ignore all the good reasons to move any longer. We're certainly not the only local manufacturing company that has departed from this area. He says our competitors all have moved to Tennessee, Georgia, Louisiana, and overseas. Large corporations don't want to do business here, says Piazza. He cited the example of another business. It was a dishwasher manufacturing business called Stero, S-T-E-R-O, that was located for years in Petaluma. They sold to another company, and immediately the entire operation was moved to Pennsylvania, and the building they were in was sold to someone else. He said that when they hire a new person, even if they pay them $15 an hour to start out with no skills, they cannot afford to live in Sonoma Valley because of the price of homes, housing, because of regulations, the price of utilities, which are absurd, even though we're sitting on the largest stash of oil in the world. So Piazza, I got a kick out of this, was invited to speak to the Sonoma County Taxpayers Association about his company's move. I wonder what you wonder what he spoke about. The theme was the government has all these progressive ideas, but those ideas, those progressive ideas, have consequences. And the consequences here is us moving to Idaho. Now, my firm belief is that the people who are controlling the state of California don't give a damn whether you move or businesses move or not. They're so confident in their political philosophy that just like the Soviet Union was, just like Vietnam was, Laos, all these communist countries, socialist countries, Venezuela, they just thought, hey, to hell with everything. This is the way it's going to be. If you don't like it, you can move. So we saw the Hmong people flee Laos and Vietnam during the 1970s, become the takeover of communism. We've seen the Syrian people flee Syria because of civil war. But what we're seeing here is California's fleeing because of a war against liberty and freedom and free enterprise. And we see a government, including the Yuba County government, just take. And those in power are richly rewarded, and those who are not in power, the citizens, are screwed on a minute-by-minute basis throughout the day, taxed to death, regulated to death, harassed to death, ripped off repeatedly. And they just smile and say, get used to it, or if you don't like it, leave. So a lot of them are leaving. So when you think about, well, we're going to split hairs between Travis Allen and Cox, and you're going to vote for a guy that has no way of winning, at least if we got one of them in to the finals, maybe we could pray for a miracle, which is what it would take. I want to ask you this. I ask people this. I want you to just roll back the film at the beginning of the people were announcing they were going to run for presidency. George Bush, Senator Cruz, Senator Rand Paul, Senator Rubio, the whole crew. How many of you thought Trump had a chance? I want you to just think about that. It really took a miracle of God. If you don't believe in God, just say it was very, I don't know what terms you use. It was unexpected. Nobody gave him much of a chance, particularly when he spends all his own money, right? I remember when Dan Logue ran against Garamendi. Dan Logue was a local supervisor, became an assemblyman for 2 terms, and was going to get termed out. So he ran against Garamendi as the realignment of the counties happened, Congressman Garamendi, and the Republican cartel didn't like Dan Logue. That was people like Doug LaMalfa, Jim Nielsen, and James Gallagher. And so they all did not, instead of getting behind him early on, they threw, the typical thing is you voted against it, then you vote for it at the last minute, right? So at the last minute, some of them got, oh yeah, we'll back him. But Logue never got any money from the National Republican Party to beat Garamendi. The National Republican Party were happy with Garamendi, who is basically a white Obama. And so Dan was fairly close to the election, but lost because he didn't have money. You can be a wonderful, potential wonderful leader and candidate, but not have enough money. One of the things about Trump, he would have not got any Republican money. He didn't get any Republican money. He didn't take any Republican money, but he was able to self-finance his campaign. He wouldn't be president, whether you like him or not. If you like Trump, He financed his own campaign. That's one of the things about Cox, that he's got the ability because he's been successful in business. I know a lot of people want somebody that's filed a few bankruptcies and doesn't have anything to show for their life, and somehow they're going to be a good politician, right? But Cox has done well in business. Or some people think, oh, well, he's just a rich guy. Well, people get rich for a reason. A lot of them make good choices unless they just inherited it all. But a lot of people who are self-made millionaires, if you want to call it, of course, Obama didn't think anybody was self-made. Government really is at the foundation of making everybody. It's because he's a socialist. So all of you that think they're just splitting hairs, well, he said, she said, he did, that did. Well, what about that? Well, but something, you're going to what about something, and you're going to end up with Gavin Newsom, who is an immoral, very, very, very liberal guy. Now I said this last week. The state of California is so screwed up that the official voter information guide for the election landed after I voted. Now, how smart is that? They're in control. They couldn't have actually produced this 100-page guide and mailed it out and got it before the absentee ballots arrived. When people get their absentee ballots like I do, I vote and I get it over with. So in this packet on page 69, you can look up Xavier Becerra. He is the Attorney General for the state of California. I want you to think of all the things an Attorney General could focus on. And here is his top list. This guy's focused. This guy's got to have... Yuba County Health told me we were teaching the jail inmates about sexually transmitted infections, or what I used to call diseases, STDs. Now they call them STIs, because there's a big increase all over the United States. Syphilis, chlamydia, or what they call CLAP. That's why I call Mr. Clapper Mr. Chlamydia nowadays. So chlamydia, gonorrhea, right? He says Becerra's got to have something wrong with his brain, but this is a true socialist. His focus, I'm taking on the Trump administration, he said. I think, well, what if I don't want you to, like a lot of us voted for Trump. Why don't you just focus on putting bad guys in jail? He says, I'm taking on the Trump administration. I'm taking on the National Rifle Association. I'm taking on big oil and big banks. I thought, I do business at a big bank. I don't have any problem with my bank. Why don't you leave the bank alone? Right? I like oil. I use oil. I buy gas. It's like we run the whole state on oil. What do you got, the stupid spirit on you? He said, I sued Trump and won to stop him from gutting our air quality protections and to block his efforts to restrict women's access to birth control. Trump didn't say women couldn't have birth control. If you want to have birth control, go out and buy a case of it. You can buy all you want. What this guy wants is that somehow people have a right to free everything, get free birth control. Let me tell you, if the government gets in charge of birth control, you're not going to be able to find it on your shelves. They can't produce it and get it to you on time. Are we out of time? We're out of time. So we got one more hour left. So hang around if you want to. Go get a tuna sandwich or something. We'll be right back. We're going to talk for a minute. All right. Well, when I was over in China, I noticed they had a wall. I've seen pictures of the Pope. What are you laughing about? It's the truth, right? They had a wall. The Pope, I saw his wall. Mexico has a wall. I've seen pictures of that down there on the border between them and Guatemala. Saudi Arabia has a wall. Israel has a wall. Disneyland put up a wall. They got a wall around the goal socks. Can't get into the game unless you pay. Why can't we have a wall? Somebody's telling me maybe we ought to all chip in a few bucks if we all just can't get Congress to like get on the same page and fund the wall, even though they got all our money already. Well, I wanted to mention Sutter Butte Tea Party Patriots. They're going to have an ice cream social. It's June 4. On June 4, the next month, they meet on the first and third Monday of each month. So June 4, the night before the election. Anybody's welcome. All the candidates are welcome. Go out and try to get some last votes in. But they're going to have just a little celebration out there at the Church of Glad Tidings campus where they meet at 1179 Eager Road. They're going to start around 6:30 and just have some fun, a little celebration, and then they're going to have another meeting on the third Monday of the month, and they'll have a speaker, but they haven't announced that speaker yet. But go out and get involved, and they've done a great job having a lot of forums, promoting and giving candidates a chance to promote themselves and tell about what they have to offer the community. So also, one of our sponsors here is the Elite Universal Security. I see their cars all over town. In fact, they help keep craziness down in my neighborhood over at the little business center at 10th and E Street, where by the way, new Starbucks remodeled their whole business over there. It's twice as big, all fancy and everything. And the head of Starbucks now says that they're taking in homeless people. You don't need to buy anything. You can go in there and just hang out or use the toilet, or I don't know, maybe they ought to put in showers for homeless, help them out. But anyway, they can't keep control because the law enforcement in our areas now are not wanting to fuss with people. In fact, I had a guy I caught and released a tweaker out of my garage here a week ago, and they do the same thing. You're part of the problem. You know, if you voted for these propositions, I don't know whether there's 48 and 58, or it was 40-something, 50-something. Both were propositions reducing the penalties for various crimes. So now you can steal stuff repeatedly up to, I think, $950, keep ripping stuff off, and all they do is catch and release. They don't even take you to jail. Did you know that? There's like all kinds of crimes now you don't even go to jail over. So I just thought when I caught this guy the other day in my garage, the neighbor caught him actually and brought him to the front door. I ended up knowing the guy. I don't think he knew it was my house. I don't know whether he did or not. He was so whacked out. I thought, no use even calling the police. Just tie them up. They aren't going to do anything anyway. So I just caught and released him myself. Gave him a little bottle of energy drink to drink, and patted him on the head and wished him well. Sent him on down the road. So anyway, Monty Hecker at Elite Universal Security's got all kinds of patrol people trying to keep people from bothering folks and interfering, and people trying to go in and buy some Panda Express or get a cup of coffee or get a sandwich or go into CVS Pharmacy. And he's just trying to keep a little order, as you know, I think it's Romans, the chapter book is Romans, the chapter is 13, where it talks about the purpose of law enforcement to keep a lid on this sucker until the Holy Spirit comes, or Jesus comes back and like whoops everything into shape. But Elite Universal Security is a local company out here located out here just south of Marysville, and you can dial them up at 749-0280. If you have problems at your house or business, they can help solve them. And also, they have a lot of courses. They have a school. You can they got jobs all over the place. Here in Yuba Sutter, Butte County, up in Redding, they got all kinds of jobs. So you ought to dial them up if you want a job. If you think, well, I'd like to work, but I don't know anything about it. I've never done that before. They actually will train you to do their work. And they have courses. In fact, If you want to go to the police academy out at Yuba College and maybe they don't have certain classes and you'll have to wait a semester, you can take classes out here with API Academy that they run, api-academy.com. And for instance, the classes they had for this coming weekend that were advertised have been put off because of the Memorial Day recognition. And so they've moved those to June 9 and 10, which is exposed firearms and concealed weapons course. So that's June 9 in the classroom, June 10 at the range. And also renewals will also be held on June 10, renewing your permit. And our next firearms classroom experience for firearms will be on June 23rd. And then June 24th, same thing. Classroom one day, range the next. And then on June 2nd, which is just around the corner, they got a taser class and a pepper spray class that they'll put on if they have a minimum of 3 signups. So if you just want to learn how to tase somebody and get some experience like that and get a certificate, so they'll help you get on with another firm, like maybe even get on anywhere, really, knowing how to use tasers and pepper spray. Get it on. So Elite Universal Security, you can go to their website and check it out for yourself. I get a lot of cool information off their website, and they constantly updating it, telling what they're doing, what their mission is. If you're a veteran or disabled veteran, they're very interested in hiring you. 749-0280. Monty Hecker's the guy's name who put this all together, and he'll help you. He'll help you out. Okay? So I wanted to tell you we got a really screwed up school system. It is really bad. If you can go to private school or a charter school, you ought to think seriously about that. You only have your children once. They only go through those grades once. Doug Eshman at Mary Kovalod School, the elementary school in Marysville, is a very unusual school. They've performed very at high levels in spite of the rest of the school system. And I heard this year they got another state award. But he's kind of a maverick, Doug Eshman. I'm surprised every year when I see him over there. I think, I wonder if he's going to retire this year, that year, because he's got some years on him. But people love Doug, and he does a great job. And he does it in spite of all the rules. But the reason, it's amazing the way he operates, but I don't want to get stuck on Doug. I want to tell you about some of the problems in our system that Doug avoids. Like, he honors America at his school. He doesn't push Harvey Milk and all kinds of transgender, mumbo-jumbo sexuality stuff. He focuses on what kids need to know about being a good citizen, about being a reader, a person that can show respect, and a person that gets high scores in math, history, reading, etc. Right? So, in Illinois, at a school called West Prairie High School, just last week or so, they were having their graduation, and their valedictorian was a guy named Sam Blackledge, 18-year-old youngster. And right before he was going to give his speech at the graduation, they stopped him. And they didn't want him to speak at all because they realized, I don't know when they realized it, but the administration said, you can't talk about God or Jesus. So finally, according to the nonprofit legal firm that is now representing Blackledge, isn't this sad to even hear this? They didn't want to even let him go on. They were going to cancel the whole thing, but he was eventually allowed to gut any reference to the Almighty out of his speech and just kind of give a generic talk. That's a bad sign, folks, in our country, where respect for God and the fact is, this guy wasn't giving a proselytizing speech. He was just telling how the reason he was able to accomplish a 4.0 and do so well in school was because of his experience with God. I happen to know lots of friends who no longer kill people or shoot heroin or do meth because of they had an experience with God. So there, the government, the big G word wasn't government, it was God. And today they give God the credit, not government, for straightening them out. So the other thing that went on is an Oregon teenager by the name of Senior at Liberty High School. Isn't that odd? Liberty High School. Liberty High School in Oregon. Addison Barnes. He decided to wear a Donald J. Trump Border Wall Construction Company t-shirt. Now some schools have uniforms, but most schools just let you wear pretty much whatever you want unless it's indecent. Like you can see somebody's rear end or their crotch or something, or too much top on ladies. And so if it's modest, it usually goes, even if it says something stupid on it. You just kind of, as they say, overlook it. I have to overlook stuff every day I'm around town. I think that's stupid. She looks at it like an idiot. So the shirt features another quote from Donald Trump. It said, "The wall just got 10 feet taller," on one side. And he wore it when he was in his People in Politics class. That day, immigration was going to be discussed. The rightness and wrongness of immigration, how we're going to do it. So he wore his Trump t-shirt. He was making a statement. So the teacher said, "You got to cover that up." So at first he covered it up, then he decided, wait a minute. How come I got to cover this up at Liberty High School? Hold that thought, Liberty. So he took his jacket off, so then the truth came out. He was told by an assistant principal that some of the students and a teacher were like, their feelings were hurt by his shirt, and he had to go home. Addison Barnes said that one of his teachers hung up a poster supporting sanctuary cities for the whole year and that nobody's feelings got hurt at Liberty High School. So now Addison is going to have to file some kind of lawsuit. Isn't this just like, why? We can't just like have public high schools. You can talk about having an abortion and killing Trump, but you can't talk about being pro-life or being straight. You can talk about being gay, but you can't talk about being straight. You can talk about everything against the government, but you can't talk about being patriotic. You can't have an American flag on your shirt, but you could have a Che Guevara picture on your shirt. Right? No pro-life, no Jesus, none of that stuff. That hurts people's feelings. But you can have everything else where conservative kids or patriotic kids or Jesus-loving kids or abstinence-loving kids, they can be tolerant of all the other stupid stuff going on, right? They have to be tolerant, but it doesn't work the other way around. So now Barnes is suing the school. He's suing Liberty High. I would want to have a different name high school, like Pain in the Rear High School. Like I attended, what high school did you go? Jackass High School. Spirit of Stupid High School. No, I attended Liberty High School. Oh, was there a lot of liberty there? Oh, no, there wasn't any liberty there. It's just a name. It's just a name, right? Should have called it Barack Hussein Obama High School, right? So we have a situation. You can't talk. Your speech is limited. What you wear is limited. It's a Jesus-free zone. We got to scrub Jesus out of it and God and everybody else. We came here. If we all said, if we had a shirt that says, my grandpa, my great-great-great-great-grandpa, and we had a picture of an ape, that would fly really well, right? Or just an ape plus a thing called I'm with Charles Darwin. Have a picture of Darwin with his arm around an ape. That would work. So, if you think you have problems in schools, maybe you should switch schools since you're only getting your kids once. You don't get a redo on the kids. The other thing I noticed the other day is, did you know that you can not only, the school system now teaches that if you have the plumbing of a male or female, they teach you now how you can change that over and go transgender, right? Well, did you know that there's transracial? Did you know transracial? Transracial. That means if I'm feeling my Mexican side coming out, I could just call myself a Mexican. Like I was talking to this Mexican gal that works at Juvenile Hall. She's a good friend of mine, Cynthia. And I said, Cynthia, can I convert to being a Mexican? I said, I like the food and I think the women are pretty. And I like the language. She said, yeah, you can convert, Lou. It's okay with me. And I noticed that Rachel Dolezal, Dolezal, who was a Norwegian gal, blonde hair, white skin, she decided she wanted to be a black person. That's called transracial. That's when you feel that's when you look like a Norwegian gal, like from Finland or somewhere like that, but where you just really identify with blacks. So you change your hair color. Hers was blonde. Now she changed it to and she what do you call it? Gets a perm, and it makes it all really curly, and so it makes it like she taken kinky hair and straightened it a little bit. Still has a lot of curl to it. So then she puts something on her skin and gets into those, what do they call it? Where they get in a booth. They get a suntan in a booth. What do you call that? Anyway, she goes and does that, and she puts that stuff on her face to make she's like a really light-skinned black, just a little lighter than Obama Hussein. Anyway, remember, she was the head of the NAACP in Spokane, Washington, Rachel Dolezal. And she legally changed her name to Nkechi Diallo, because, you want one of those good African names. Either she doesn't want to live in Africa because she doesn't know how to survive there, but she likes the names from over there. So she don't want to go over there and live and die of some kind of disease. So she wants to get free medical care here and just be a wannabe. So Nkechi Diallo, she got charged with 3 counts of theft by welfare, fraud, perjury, and making false claims to get public assistance. So she could get up to 15 years in prison. Now, my hunch is she's not going to get jack. But anyway, what she did is she received almost $9,000 in food assistance. We called that EBT cards down here in California, or we used to call it food stamps. And she got $100 in child care assistance. She received the assistance. Now, when you're a black who have been persecuted hundreds of years ago, if is somebody you know, or you don't even know who they are, but you're black, and so somebody back there got persecuted, then that gives you the right, whenever you feel like it and you're short of tennis shoes or a TV set, you can knock out a window, protest, and score yourself some new tennies and then a bottle of vodka and some orange juice, and you don't even get arrested. It's kind of amazing. So if you're somebody in your past has been persecuted, you can break the law in the United States and you don't even get arrested. So you can lie and everything. Some Mormons feel like they can do that as well. Some Mormon businessmen, in fact, have ripped me off, but they think they're good Christian people. She received this assistance by reporting that her income was usually less than $500 per month in child support payments. In other words, somebody's giving her $500 a month or less. That's what she claimed. But they looked at her bank records, and Nkechi Diallo had deposited $83,924. How do people get all this money? I'm just not under the right shower. They found all that money going in her bank account in several installments between August 2015 September 2017, and she forgot or didn't think because she's because she's a wannabe, she's transsexual, that means she didn't really have, she's not black, but she's feeling it, right? She's feeling that kind of coming out in her. So she reported that income she didn't report it to the Department of Social and Health Services. So the money, according to the case file, had come from authoring her book. Now, she wrote a book. Isn't this amazing? And it's called In Full Color. She was hoping she'd be darker, but she just got, she got a bad deal on the melanin. I brought melanin up in juvenile hall. The kids just look at me cross-eyed because I was standing up the black kids. I said, he got a lot of melanin. And the white kid, he doesn't have so much. I got the Mexican kid up there in front. And I said, he got a little bit. And they just looked at me like I'd lost my mind. So, so she got money off that book, speaking engagements. She makes soap. And she makes dolls. And she sells, I guess she's an artist. Actually, she's taught at a college, too. Well, she's in trouble, Miss Dolezal, and she, once they realized at the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People that she wasn't as colored as she looked like, they thought she was really light-skinned, but they didn't know that she was no black in her system, not even one drop like in Barack Obama. He'd got himself some drops. He'd got at least a little bit. He had a white mama and a communist black daddy. And so he doesn't want to claim his white mama, he don't want to talk about her. So she also got dismissed from a police ombudsman commission and lost a university teaching point because she kept lying to everybody. She's lying to everybody, lying about who she was, the race, the ethnicity, the color. She was doctoring her color up. Then she just couldn't be trusted, that woman. So there you have it. Well, all right. Did you see the deal? Where was it? In New York or New Jersey? A family had to go to the Supreme Court to kick their 30-year-old son out of the house. And he just said, well, can't you? They've been trying for years. They offered to give him some money to leave. That's sad, when you got a kid, you birth a kid, you raise him. At 18, he doesn't have any interest in leaving. He just wants to hang around, right? And even in nature, eagles kick a guy out of the nest and don't have to answer to anybody for it. But here, they had to go to a judge, and the guy says, well, I don't think it's fair. He said, I don't have any money. He says, at least they could give me 30 more days. Unbelievable. I got some people right across the street from me, the same darn thing. And I told the mother, I said, the other day on the phone, I said, why don't you just move and leave him there? I'll take care of him. You just get out, go get yourself a nice apartment somewhere, leave him there with all this tweakers, and I'll be taking care of him. So she just kind of stared at me. So anyway, we're going to take a break. We're coming back for another 30 minutes, and then we're going to call it a day, and the sports guys are coming in.
When I turned 18, I couldn't wait to vote. After all, voting is a privilege for all Americans, right? Then I did the math. Did you know that the northern third of California only has 3 out of 80 seats in the Assembly and 3 out of 40 seats in the Senate? Northern California has no representation, and my vote doesn't count. Splitting from California and forming the state of Jefferson is the only remedy. Please visit soj51.net for more information. Please donate now to help restore representation.
Check out the Territorial Dispatch. The paper is a weekly and can be obtained free at distribution or by mail through subscription. It's the only locally owned and operated newspaper in the region. The paper is the rest of the story. And also check out the E-Territorial. It's an online version of the Territorial Dispatch, which features local news and events for the Yuba Sutter, Colusa, and Nevada County areas. You'll also find daily and breaking news updates, current traffic, and weather information, along with a calendar of local events. Visit the E-Territorial at eterritorial.com.
All right. Well, I promised I was going to play this 3-minute clip about Muslims in America. Should Muslims be in government? And I was talking about Jake McCauley, who is coming to town in June, and I think it's June 8th, for a Out of the Salt Shaker talk at Glad Tidings, Church of Glad Tidings, and he's going to be there over the weekend. But I wanted to play this, and then Ray had called and said, Lou, will you give us an update on what's going on with the casino and the fire departments and all the controversy and lawsuits? And I will. I'm going to play the clip, then I'm going to talk about that. Be right back. All right. So that's Macaulay. He's going to be in town. You can see him up close and live on June 8th, 9th, and 10th at Church of Glad Tidings. So I wanted to talk about there's been a big deal about the casino, lots of different news and lots of different information coming out. So what's happened is since 2001, 3 supervisors, it shows you the power of these political positions because 3 voted to welcome a tribe from Butte County to establish a reservation in Yuba County, a sovereign nation that does not have to follow the rules and regulations of our county or the state. And the citizens of Yuba County voted 3 different times against the casino, against reservation shopping. But in spite of that, because of 3 supervisors, Mary Jane Griego, Al Amaro, and Bill Simmons, the Bureau of Indian Affairs blessed 40 acres being taken into trust. That means that it's being overseen by the federal government because it now is a reservation and not part, essentially, of Yuba County. And so then, and they also okayed them to do Class 3 gaming. Class 3 gaming is a Las Vegas-style or Reno-style casino. But they needed to sign a compact with the governor of the state, which Governor Brown signed an agreement with them. That means cutting up the cheese a certain way, giving certain benefits to the state government. But it needed to be ratified. The agreement needed to be ratified by the Assembly of the state of California, and no one in the Assembly would bring it to the floor for a vote. So then they couldn't go ahead with the Class 3 at that time. But they could do a Class 2, which is like the Lytton Casino on the I-80, the San Pablo Lytton Casino, which is kind of a card room bingo operation. But the real money is in the Las Vegas-style casinos, and so there are now over 70 of those in California, run by tribal people. And so I'm told that a federal judge has overruled the Assembly of the state of California, and they don't have to go get a ratification of that compact, but they can circumvent that, which is really the way we got the casino anyway. It doesn't really make any difference. The people voted in the state of California twice against reservations moving to other locations. The people of Yuba County voted that they did not want a casino here. All that to none effect. If you have enough political power and you have enough money, you can do whatever you want in the United States today. So, according to people I've talked to, they now can start their Class 3 Las Vegas-style casino on 40 acres out on 40 Mile Road. And so they're going to break ground here supposedly this coming month. And so there was all of a sudden a hurry because the Memorandum of Understanding, or we refer to as the MOU between the county and the tribe, to decide how are we going to work with each other? Like, are you going to use the sheriff's department? And what happens if there's a problem and, you're going to need to pay for these services we offer, and who you're going to pay, how you're going to pay, how much you're going to pay. So we had a fry cook who at that time, Mary Jane Griego, she's a fry cook, and that's her training. She was on the board, and we have a weights and measures guy, Don Schrader, Mary Jane Griego and Don Schrader. He worked for Yuba College and taught weights and measures class. So they thought, hey, we can write this MOU. So they sat down and wrote a memorandum of understanding with a sovereign nation. Instead of looking for experts in the field to help them, they thought, we got this. So they wrote a memorandum of understanding that now is the working document of agreements that the tribe and Yuba County have to adhere to. Unfortunately, all the money that the dollars and cents of it were in 2001 or 2002 dollars, and now we're in 2018. So gas in 2001 and 2 was about $1.86 or $1.60 something a gallon. And now it's approaching $4. So just think about if you're having to anybody that's using gasoline to serve them, like fire or police, the money doesn't work out so well. There are clauses in the MOU that said we could change the MOU. Either party could open the MOU and offer changes to it. Two supervisors, Roger Abbey from the Wheatland Plumas Lake area and Andy Vasquez, Linda supervisor, were the only ones that tried to advocate for that. But it takes 3 votes to get the supervisor to do that. Mary Jane Griego and John Nicoletti and others would not do that. So we have an MOU that is a 2001 MOU. What agreement would you want to make in 2001 that you had to keep to now if you're going to build a house from 2001 prices and you're going to build it in 2018? It's nonsense. But anyway, here we are. And so it's interesting that the MOU stated that the agreement for law enforcement have to be made with the sheriff's department. It's interesting that when they went to the fire department, Mary Jane Griego's district is Oliver's public utility district, and she put that they could make an agreement with Wheatland, or what they called it Plumas Brophy back then, or they could make it with another county fire department, or with a fire department, a private entity. So it's interesting how they gave all those options, because they could have just as well said you need to make it with the one that serves your jurisdiction, which is Wheatland, but they didn't. So Wheatland began to negotiate with the tribe. I don't know all the details of the negotiations, but I found out that OPUD has also, Oliver's Public Utility District has been having ongoing negotiations for a long time, according to one OPUD director. So I thought, they're working one against the other, right? So I don't know what the difference in the offering was for money, but Gary Bradford, who is supposed to be representing the Wheatland and the Plumas Lake area, not the Olivehurst area, but he used to be on a director on the Oliver's Public Utility District and is known to be the little boy for Mary Jane Griego. All of a sudden, he made a motion to vote on blessing an agreement with the Oliver's Public Utility District, which runs Oliver's Fire, to accept that agreement between the tribe and OPUD, where that one little 40 acres now will be served by Oliver's Fire, and all around it will be served by Wheatland Fire. Pretty crazy. So it violates a number of things according to Wheatland Fire. OPUD is saying, hey, the tribe does not have to observe the normal rules of jurisdictions of service. So if I want to build a business in Wheatland's jurisdiction, I don't have the right to choose Linda Fire to come over and serve my building if they'll serve me cheaper. Just like I live in Marysville, but I like Yuba City Fire and I like Marysville Fire. But hypothetically, if I want Yuba City Fire and I wanted to pay them, and I say, why don't you guys come over if I have a heart attack and not Marysville? I can't do that. No one has the freedom to do that. You have to go with the jurisdiction that you're in. But so the OPUD says, well, the Indians could do what, I use the term freely, Indians, Native Americans, whatever, the Maidus, they can do whatever they want. The other side of that is, but OPUD can't do whatever they want. OPUD is, and all these jurisdictions have agreed to abide by certain rules to serve certain jurisdictions in a certain fashion under an organization called LAFCO, which is they are organizations within counties to help manage who's doing what where so it doesn't get very inefficient and wasteful. It started after World War II, these commissions to manage where public utilities or public services, how they're rendered. So, true to form, what we predicted, we being the people that oppose the casino, is that these casinos end up costing more money than they produce. Now, everybody's focusing, we need jobs. Damn it, we need jobs, and we need them right now, and we need those casino jobs. Well, the problem is that it isn't all about jobs. counties have to provide services and jurisdictions have to provide services. So these entities, whether you have an industry comes in that needs a certain amount of water, the water district has to produce that water and get it over there in pipes the size that they need it. There's an infrastructure that has to take place to support jobs. And so if the community is not paid or reimbursed for those infrastructure costs, the community goes into the hole financially. That means our tax dollars are used up to support an entity that should be caring for itself, carrying its own weight. The problem with the tribal entity is they don't have to follow any particular rules. So right now what we have is exactly what was predicted. We have two fire agencies, Wheatland and Olivehurst, that are going to go into court and fight. I don't know whether the tribe's going to be involved in it. But it's cost. Who do you think's paying for that? Do you think the tribe is paying a nickel? No, they're not. So tax dollars that you paid for fire protection and emergency medical services are now being wasted by going to court with attorneys to slug this out, all because we have a disagreement, and all created by a tribe that was created by a fry cook and a weights and measures dude that said you can use whatever fire department you want. And the way these jurisdictions are broken up or designed is that as the jurisdiction develops, they fund the fire department, right, to exist in that area. And if they don't get the proper amount of tax dollars, they for instance, Olivehurst, of all the departments in the Yuba County area, Olivehurst has been the most feeble department there is. I don't mean that, it's not disparaging comment among the individuals. There never has been enough dollars in that department to support taking care of Olivehurst. Their district right now is about 6 square miles. Can you imagine creating a whole department and paying a chief $150,000 to oversee just 6 miles? Linda Fire Department oversees over 50 square miles, with one chief. You see what I'm getting at? In economics, they call it, that's a poor economy of scale. In other words, it's like, whoa, we got a chief for, like in the city of Marysville, we have one chief for 3.4 square miles. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So now the supervisors, after all these years, saying, well, maybe we ought to have a regional fire department. Well, that's a little late to talk about that now because it'll take years to pull that off. Would it be a good idea? Maybe. But that's a big political firestorm. But now we have the tribe that their requirement of the Memorandum of Understanding is they were supposed to have agreements with all these entities that are going to serve them. And they were supposed to have all these statements that they were going to abide by all the rules of construction rules, health and welfare rules, OSHA rules, employment rules. They were supposed to have all these documents that they were going to abide by similar rules that you and I have to abide by. Or when we go into a store, like for instance, if you go into a building and it's supposed to have sprinklers and it's a big building and you go up into the upper stories of it and there's no fire escapes, you're at risk. So you trust that the jurisdiction you're going in America is abiding by, and those buildings have the safety features so you're not going to die in them, right? If an earthquake happens or a fire happens, etc. So when you go on to one of these Indian casinos, are they following the same rules? Are they, like when you eat at the restaurant, are they following the same sanitation rules that we follow in Yuba Sutter counties, right? Or if you go to work for them, do you have the same rights if you don't get paid properly? So all these things are supposed to be laid out and agreed to and blessed by the county per the Memorandum of Understanding. But they didn't get the fire thing sorted out. And so right now, even though the tribal people have never paid a nickel to Wheatland Fire, right? Even though those 40 acres have not been, I talked to the tax collector with Yuba County about a year and a half ago, Dan Mearswa, And Dan told me that the taxes on that 40 acres was over $20,000 a year. Now, that gets divided up in a lot of ways. Most of it goes to education. But once the tribal property went into trust, which is a few years now, no taxes have been paid. No taxes will ever be paid to the county of Yuba for any purpose because it's a sovereign nation. We surrendered that property. It's no longer on the tax rolls, will never be on the tax rolls. So any money that ever comes out of the tribe for services rendered, like for instance, in all of our businesses and all of our homes, we all chip in through taxes towards all the infrastructure and services that are rendered in our community. But the tribe does not participate in that unless it's voluntary. The memorandum of understanding is severely flawed. The only monies that are being offered to the county are in the dollars of what services were rendered in 2002. Wouldn't you like to get eggs and coffee and be able to hire somebody at the rates of 2002? That's exactly what we're getting paid. So since the land was taken into trust, Wheatland Fire, if anything happened down there, a fire happened, a car crash happened, anybody got injured on that property, Wheatland Fire would have been responding to that without getting zero money. And so now they have decided we want OPUD. So Oliver's Public Utilities Fire Department, Oliver's Fire, will come from 9th Avenue in Oliver's and drive all the way out there to serve that one entity. If something happens at the amphitheater just south of it, next door, Oliver's will not respond to that, but Wheatland Fire responds to that. It's just crazy. But that's what the memorandum of understanding, when you put a fry cook writing a memorandum of understanding and a weights and measures guy, instead of people that have been doing this for years with tribal folks, that's what you get. So how it's going to end out, it's out of the supervisor's hands. What could the supervisors have done something different? They certainly could have. Here's what they could have done if you'd had somebody that wasn't being jerked around by their short hairs. That would be Bradford getting jerked around by Mary Jane Griego. They could have gone to the tribe and they'd say, listen, we know what the MOU says, but we're asking you to do us a solid, as they say in juvenile hall, and to work with Wheatland because they're the ones that properly should serve you. They're serving the entire square miles around you. Please just work with Wheatland. If you get into a situation where you feel they're taking advantage of you, we can arbitrate that out. But don't work one fire department against another. That ain't cool in our county. They could have done that, but I don't think they did. So here we are, and we have a fight going on. And to me, it's a bad deal. And the losers are the taxpayers. And that's just the way that works. The losers are the taxpayers. So the other, I think that's probably covers it. What I was mistaken on is that I still thought that I thought the casino was going to be a bingo card room because they didn't have a class 3 Las Vegas style clearance from the state. My understanding now is that the federal judge overruled the fact that the assembly had to ratify it. That's the best news. That's the best understanding I've come to. And so therefore, the tribal people have the okay from a federal judge to proceed with a Las Vegas style casino. And after all these years, they can get it on. The challenge is now that the memorandum of understanding is so severely flawed that there is no way that the county of Yuba, poor as it is, already broke, already pleading with people, sending out flyers saying we're going to need to add a sales tax. So they're going to have to provide services by a contract designed by a fry cook and a weights and measures guy. They're going to have to provide services at 2002 reimbursements while spending $2018. So that's the way it's going to be. So, all right. So let me just give another reminder, a couple things here. Sutter Butte Tea Party Patriots next meeting is June 4 for the ice cream celebration. And if you're a candidate, you want to take one more shot at going out there at Glad Tidings, Highway 99 Eager, go for it. Elite Universal Security, if you're tired of tweakers, fussing with your business, whether it's at your home or your house, Elite Universal Security can help you, 749-0280. And if you don't know much about the Constitution, in fact, if you're interested in hearing about why good people that understand, have an understanding of the Constitution and know what God had in mind when he created this country, you ought to come out and listen to Jake McCauley. That's Macaulay. Go look at his clips on YouTube, and that's June 8th, Friday night, 7 p.m., called Out of the Salt Shaker Workshop at Glad Tidings, Highway 99 Eagle Road in Yuba City. And he'll also be there June 9th at 7 p.m., June 10th at 10 a.m. So we're going to call it a day, I think, and we got the guys coming on going to be talking about sports, and there's a lot going on, I'm telling you. And then late tonight, there's going to be another sports talk with Zach at 6 o'clock. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week. See you later.